When it comes to our sexual well-being, there's just so much pressure, isn't there? Pressure to feel a certain way, to want sex at the right time, for our bodies to just respond on command. And so many of us are told that if something feels off, well, you just need to try harder. But what if that's not the answer at all? Today, we're going to dive into a completely new way of thinking about sex, moving way beyond simple mechanics to understand the whole big, beautiful picture.
It's such a weird paradox when you think about it. I mean, if sex was just a physical skill, like learning to play tennis, then yeah, more effort should mean better results. But so often, trying harder just makes us more frustrated. And that's a huge clue, right? It tells us that the way we've been taught to think about sex is maybe missing some really crucial pieces of the puzzle.
And the root of all that frustration, it often comes from what we can call the performance trap. This is this idea that sex is some kind of task you have to complete, and you have to complete it successfully with a very specific outcome in mind. So let's break down the thinking that gets us so stuck there.
Okay, so on the left, you see what's called the mechanical model. This is how sex is so often shown in movies and media, right? It's a physical performance. Your body should just follow commands. And if there's a problem, you just need to find a better technique. But that's so incomplete. Now look at the right, the mind/body/context model. This is a total game changer. Here, sex is an interaction, not a performance. Your body isn't a machine. It responds to signals. Signals about safety, connection, stress levels, everything. Problems aren't just technical glitches. They're understood by looking at the entire context of your life. And that shift from a mechanical problem to a contextual one, that's the first huge step toward finding real solutions.
This brings us to one of the biggest myths that comes out of that old mechanical model. This idea that desire is just a simple on or off switch. You either have it or you don't. And oh my gosh, this one idea creates so much unnecessary stress for so many people.
And this is where we have to talk about a really crucial distinction, one that just isn't talked about enough. It turns out there are two main ways that desire can show up. What we usually see as normal is spontaneous desire, where you feel that interest first, and that feeling motivates you to, get started. But there is an equally valid, equally healthy pathway, responsive desire. This is where the interest and the wanting actually build after intimacy has already begun, as a response to touch, or closeness, or just the whole vibe of the moment. One is not better than the other. They are just different ways our nervous systems work.
Let's just pause on this for a second, because this is huge. Responsive desire is not a problem to fix. It's not a sign of low attraction. It simply means that for a whole lot of us, wanting doesn't come before intimacy, it follows it. Just letting that one idea sink in can lift an enormous weight of self-judgment off your shoulder. And once you get that, it can totally shift the questions you ask yourself. So instead of beating yourself up with a question like, why don't I want this? You can get curious. Asking, what conditions help desire grow for me, changes everything. It moves the focus away from blame and toward understanding. It helps you see that desire responds to things like support and safety, not force.
So, if desire responds to certain conditions, what's actually monitoring all of that? To get that, we need to talk about the real control center for our sexual experiences. And trust me, it's probably not what you think. It's your brain.
So here's a fundamental truth that we just always forget. Your brain's number one job, its top priority, isn't pleasure. It's survival. From your brain's point of view, pleasure is basically a luxury. It's something that's only allowed when your brain decides that you are not under any kind of threat. This is exactly why you can't just decide to be turned on. Your brain trusts the actual context you're in way more than your intentions.
So what does the brain see as a threat when it comes to sex? Well, they're often things we don't even think of as threats. We can call them breaks. Things like feeling judged by yourself or your partner, worrying about disappointing them, feeling rushed for time, feeling emotionally disconnected, or just the sheer weight of all those expectations we carry around. To your brain, these are all signals of potential danger, and it responds by quietly and automatically hitting the brakes on desire.
The good news is, you can actually learn to gently ease off those brakes. And it's not about powering through them. It's about creating a different context. First, just notice and name what feels disruptive. Is it an anxious thought? A noise you heard? Second, intentionally slow things way down. Third, maybe change the environment, make it feel more private, more relaxed. And fourth, and this is the big one, actively let go of any expectations about where this has to lead. It's all about allowing less pressure, not doing more.
And that idea, releasing expectations, leads us right into our next major reframe. We are taught constantly to see pleasure, and specifically orgasm, as the goal of sex. But this goal-oriented approach can actually be the very thing that gets in the way.
I want you to really let this sink in. Pleasure responds better to presence than to pursuit. Think about it. The second we start chasing pleasure, our brain switches into this monitoring mode, right? Am I feeling it yet? Is it working? Is it good enough? That yanks us right out of the experience of sensation and puts us straight into our heads. Real pleasure has a chance to flourish when we're just present with what's happening without demanding a specific result.
And this is so important because it broadens our entire definition of what a successful sexual experience even is. Satisfaction is not just one event at the end. It's a whole, rich, varied landscape of feelings. It can be the feeling of deep emotional connection. It can be a feeling of profound relaxation after a long, stressful day. It can be shared laughter and curiosity. Or it can just be that simple feeling of being present and alive in your own body. All of these are valid, and all of them are deeply fulfilling parts of our sexuality.
Okay, so let's tie all of these ideas together. We've kind of walked through the problems with that old mechanical model, and we've built a new framework that is way more compassionate, more realistic, and honestly just more effective. It's all about a shift from pressure to presence.
This right here is the core takeaway. Sex is not a performance that you can pass or fail. It is a responsive process. It is constantly being shaped by the context of your life, your stress, your history, your mood, as well as your physical capacity and your connection with your partner. It's a living, breathing part of your life, not some separate task to be aced.
So if you take away only one single thing from all this, please let it be this. When your desire or your pleasure or your interest feels different than you think it should, it is not a sign that you are broken. It is a sign that you are responding to the realities of your life. And that response is something you can understand, listen to, and ultimately care for.